Hello everybody, this is Spriggin Web What Ifs, back here with part 2 of What If Deku Was a Mutant. Okay, some things that I have to tell you before we get into it. With this form, where the nose should be, from there down to like where it looks like his ears would be, that is a mask that he can pull down to reveal a set of teeth that are stronger than vibranium. Okay, let's get into Deku's view. Hey guys, this is Izuku here. From last we spoke, I told you how I met my friends. Well, my starter friends. Um, well, from once I left off, we were going to the town. Well, no, I was leaving to go to Japan. And before that, I went with that group, my team, my friends to the town. Rain got me a mask. She said that it suit me really well. Looked like this. I thanked her for it, since she said that the red looked similar to would suit my hair. So I thanked her for it, and then I decided to go back to Japan. As when I got to Japan, before I got into doing anything, I decided to go to um the spot where me and my mother would always play. Seems like my mother would knew that I'd come back to this spot at some point, and so she put a message for me on like a recorder. She said that this a USB that she also placed in the box had a bunch of information that has a whole bunch of money that I can use. In my head, I thought, thanks, Mom, and that since I had no idea if my mom was still alive or dead, I just presumed dead, because I haven't heard from her, and she wouldn't let me get trapped by, those people. As um, Dilemma and, Viperian, and Vengeance, said that she's most likely not dead, since if she's either in hell or in heaven. Believe me, I know. I am a demon, so I am from hell. Um, Vengeance said, which is what I call the spirit of vengeance. He lets me call him that. As then I got the savings out and I got me a fresh new set of clothes. Okay, this is my view. Um, so the clothes that he's wearing now are the ones that he usually wears in my what if. So he's wearing the red and black ripped jeans, the dragon sleeveless jacket with the green flame undershirt, and the Assassin's Creed jacket. And okay, let's go back to Izuki's view. We skip around 3 years later. Since then, I got myself a haircut. I now look like this. The red part of my hair is since I have more anger than sadness now, but I still have the blue there for representing my sadness. Um, I have got myself a job. I got myself a job before I'm going to college, and that job was, well, I worked with this team that created, well, it was really just for a YouTube channel that they had. They were like a Metalworks team, and I thought it was a pretty good job, so I went under them. It was fun. Um, and it paid well. I got around $50 an hour, which resulted in me getting a good salary, and they gave me a raise within my first month of being there, because they thought I had a quirk when I'm actually when but the only thing that I did use was my heat, was fire manipulation. And then, well, um yeah, now I'm going to college. Talk to you then. With Ezekiel on his phone with his headphones in, listening to, Ruthless. Girl, look what you did to me. Girl, you played me, did me so shady. With the feelings I can trust lately. So then took me as a game. Take out the girl, all girls the same. You whack, you better have my back. 'Cause you know damn well I didn't deserve that. Those in the loop say they got me looking stupid. Run, I'ma be ruthless. Oh, 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 yeah. Eyes always feeling slashing the no neck game. You were hard and you fucked around the goat. That's so sad. So I said you're so bad, so bad. Oh, hey there. It's me. You back here again, Zuku. Sorry for my poor singing. I haven't sang in a long time out loud. Hope you enjoyed. So last we speak, I got some of my memories back from like the first year of middle school. I remember dating this girl. I think it was Ochako Oraka. And that by like near the end of the school year, well, we break up. And some things that I also remember is this kid called Karski Bakugo, which is the reason that my alternate personality is so angry. I knew that part. I just remembered some stuff from before I ended up in that lab. So I'm sitting here on top of the UA building waiting for the exams to start. And what else? As I then heard from below, get down here, you damn kid, get down here before you fall. I listened to him. He probably expected me to go down the stairs. I really didn't. I really didn't listen. And I got away from the bars. Got off them. I think he thought I was going down the stairs. As then, well, I turned around and leaped off the edge as I started plummeting. From below, I could hear screaming, like everybody worried thinking that I was gonna die. As then, I remembered something that Dilemma taught me. He said that he got a little bit of this symbiote named Venom's powers. He said that he has pretty much all Spider-Man's abilities besides the Spidey sense, which I pretty much basically have. So I pretty much have the ability to shoot webs now, but they're like on one side they're green and black, and the other side they're purple, blue, grey, red, and black. Really don't know why it's like that, but meh. As around for like a minute or so, I started plummeting. As then I put my wrists up and shot out the web. Well, well, it was actually part of Dilemma, I think. Dilemma and Vapirion. And then, wait, no, it was actually mostly Dilemma, since he has the ability to copy symbiotes if he gets a part of them. As I flinged out some of Dilemma, and I landed perfectly. As then the Dilemma's Dilemma's web stuff came back into my wrist. As then this teacher came up to me and said that you really shouldn't have done that. You shouldn't have used your quirk. As I said, what quirk? I don't have a quirk. As then they said, how do you not have a quirk when you did that? As I said, well, I'm not a quirked person. I'm a mutant. As he then said, but this is a place for people that want to become heroes. As I then said, yeah, I do want to become a hero. As he replied back with, well, most mutants end up becoming villains besides the X-Men, and most people that want to become heroes that are mutants go to Xavier's school for gifted youngsters. As I said, well, I didn't want to go there. A lot of people that probably would hate me if they got to know me would hate me if I went there. As he accepted it and said that I should get in there. As I said, yeah, I know. It's like, and as I also said that it's only like a few minutes before the thing actually starts, right? As then the teacher then says to everybody that you should all be going inside now. As I go to the back corner of the auditorium. Okay, something that I should mention. This is my view. So if you enjoyed my singing and you want me to do more of that for some scenes, tell me. And also, Izuku is wearing his mask from the lip below. He also is using some kind of illusionary stuff to hide all the scars. And the burn, so he just looks like a regular Izuku, but with the spiky hair. Yeah. So let's go back to Izuku's view. As around a minute goes by, as then President Mike comes out of nowhere and starts talking, saying, "Hello, everybody, and welcome to UA." And then he gets on. Then he starts yabbering on about a practical and a theory. As I knew that I was gonna ace both of them. As within once they gave all the sheets out and they told us to begin, I smashed it in minutes because it really wasn't all that hard, and I also had to correct some of their mistakes. I assume that they were on purpose to see if people were smart enough to notice it. And so I just went along with it. As I went up to President Mike and said, "What do I do now? Should I go to the waiting rooms or something?" As he said, yes. No one's ever finished that fast before besides Nezu, and he's the principal. As as I then said that I have an IQ of around 200 and something. I really don't remember from the last IQ test I took. As I then remembered that the last IQ test that I took was when I was during the test at that lab. As I presume that my intellect has most likely grown since then. As I went to the changing rooms. As I changed, I put my jacket around my waist and putting on a singlet. As then I went out to the testing ground. Well, actually, President Mike said that they'll be using the same testing ground since the other testing grounds will be used by some of the by the upperclassmen. As then one by one, each group going by, I being a part of the last one. As then we get to right as they're announcing my name. As before that happened, while President Mike was explaining the 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 practical exam to my group, I was up speaking to Dilemma and Viperion and Vengeance, as then this kid, I think his name was Tenya Ida, decided to speak up and said that I should stop talking to myself. As I said, then I replied back with, "You try having three annoying things in your head, talking to you every second of every minute." As in my head, Dilemma, Viperion, and Vengeance were all going off saying annoying. As in my mind I said, "Yes, you're annoying." As the last part about yes, you're annoying. So I said out loud. And Tenya Ida also went on to say that that President Mike, that you haven't gone out and about the 0 pointers, and that it's a bad view for UA. As then I said to him that he was most likely just about to get to that, you idiot. He took offense to this, and I just ignored him from there. Since I got the rough gist of it, as then I got brought out to the training grounds. Everybody that from the previous thing was made to watch to see if they could learn anything from it. As then, a few minutes before it starts, the doors were opening, and with the split crack, with the sheer, with the small crack that I saw, I blasted forward, right, and when I was going through the door, well, my singlet, it ripped off my body, showing my, well, body. And, give me a second. This is what Izuku's body looks like. That, but in this, he just looks like regular Izuku. But also his body is much more toned. This is where all the scars are, and this is where the bones go up to on his body. So I might be using this diagram in more of my what ifs later down the line. So yeah, as this creating a huge dent in the wall, with President Mike then saying, "Follow that kid's lead. He doesn't wait for anybody to count down." As then, before everybody started to come out of the door, like right as it finished fully opening, I had already ripped apart every single robot that was there. Everybody being shocked, and then President Mike saying, seems like Izuku Midoriya has destroyed every single robot that is on the field. As then we go back to the auditorium where everybody is watching this. As then a kid named Katsuki Bakugo. Remember, here's the name Izuku Midoriya. As all Katsuki in his head thought, Deku? As we go back to Izuku. And President Mike is saying, "Well done, Izuku Midoriya, for destroying all the robots so far. Seems like we're gonna need to bring in some extra." As then, Izuku uses his metal manipulation to put all the robots into a ball, condensing it into into a sphere. Him then throwing a blast of molten fire at it. This turning into molten metal from the core outwards. As then he shoots through it, going straight through the sphere, surrounding him in a irony substance, but using his energy manipulation to put like an energy barrier around him so none of his clothes would get burnt. As he shot straight through every single robot in his path. As then, in the observatory, with every single pre-hero, all the top 15 pre-heroes, top 20 I mean, as well as the Avengers, Spider-Man, Venom, Agent Venom, the X-Men, as then, we go back to, with all of them watching, as Nezu then says, "It seems like we're gonna need to test this kid's strength." As Nezu then presses a button, and he puts the meter up to 10. As he then presses the button, as 10 0 pointers come out. As then Izuku looking up to them, saying, "I highly doubt that this is going to be a challenge." As Izuku goes in the center of every single one of them, and out of his body he protrudes long vibranium claws from every single part of his body. This skewering every all 10 of the 0 pointers, as Wolverine is saying, "That's adamantium. How the hell does this kid have that in his body?" As then we go back to Izuku. we'll first go to Nezu, as he says, "Well, seems like we're going to need to put him up to more of a challenge." As he summons 10 more zero pointers. As Izuku says, "Well, it's time to show him what we can do. Okay, Dilemma, suit up." As he gets coated in this green and black um goo, as this comes out of the top, with him growling, with his tongue stretching out long, within the observatory, with venom being retreated into Eddie's body, being with Venom going, D- 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 Dilemma? As Eddie says, "Dilemma? Who's that, Venom?" As Venom then says, He's he's the symbiote that caused my kind to be here. He's the symbiote that was even weaker than me. He was looked down upon, seen as a nuisance." As then Venom says out loud, like making a head on his body, he caused Clintar to explode into a gazillion pieces, sending shards of the planet to all every single part of the cosmos. One of those meteors having me and Riot and a whole bunch of other symbiotes. As then everybody's shocked at this, saying, "How can a kid have a symbiote?" As Spider-Man oh wait, give me a second. Okay, so it's gonna be the Venom. It's gonna be a mix of something that I should mention. This is gonna be Agent Venom, like a mix between, well, it's gonna be the Venom from that's used as for the Agent Venom character. So it's really just normal Venom, but he doesn't kill many people. Well, he doesn't intentionally kill people. Okay, yeah. Um okay, let's get back to Izuku's fight. As Izuku starts jumps up to one of the zero pointers, as he coats it in Dilemma, as he then uses it to self destructs it, as it causes a huge explosion, just eliminating that one and four others, leaving five left, as he retreats Dilemma back into his body, then saying, "Okay, Viperian, suit up." As then his body gets coated in this purple, red, blue, grey, and black symbiote. As then everybody in the booth said, "He has another symbiote." As then then he turns one of his hands into one of his pincers, into one of his injecting claws. As he also summons two tendrils from his back with another two of these claws at the end of them. As he starts slashing at the zero pointers, destroying all the rest of the five. As in Nezu's office says, "Let's see if he can deal with 50 0 point. Wait, no, not 50. Let's see if he can handle 20 0 pointers." As 20 0 pointers then come out of the ground. As then he says, "Viperian, retreat." As in his head he said in his head he says that, "Let's take the next five out with vengeance, hey?" As then, well, in back in the real world, he starts smiling. As then a huge growl can be heard from him, as his face melts, as it reveals the Ghost Rider. As everybody in the observatory says, "He's the next Ghost Rider. How could this be?" As he then whistles, summoning his bike. Him then getting on it and starts twirling his chain around, destroying engulfing that chain on fire, and destroys 5 of the 0 pointers as then goes back into regular Izuku. As he then says, with these last 10, I know what I should do. And then, as then he starts yelling, his eyes turning black. Then from the bottom of his hair to the tip turning black, as then his entire body gets covered in darkness. As then, from out of the darkness emerges his demon form. Well, not his demon. Well, yeah, let's go with his demon form. As then, he lowers the part that reveals his mouth to show us this. As he starts growling. As then he says, "This is going to be fun." As he then blasts off at the 0 pointers and taking his sword out and starts slashing and slashing. Then it comes back into the last 0 pointer. As then he jumps up to it. And then he goes into the core of it as he starts slashing, and with his claws. And then he starts using his sword. As then he starts biting the wires up with his teeth. As then this causing it to self-destruct. As he it self-destructs, as everybody thought that he's most likely dead. But out of the fire comes Izuku, and he's regenerating. All of the part of his body is regenerating, going from his skull. This is more the top part of his body, going back to where it was. This revealing his burns and his scars on the top part of his body. All of his clothes haven't turned to ash. The only reason that being was because the spirit of vengeance shielded the clothes, so he wouldn't end up being naked. As he comes out of it with a smile on his face, showing being all proud with himself. As he whispers again, as then his bike appears, as then he taps on the hood of the bike, as it turns into a chain. He puts out the chain around his neck. As then, out of nowhere, Carnage appears. Yes, I am doing this. As Carnage appears, and he says, "So you're the symbiote known as Dilemma." As out of Izuku's back pops Dilemma, saying, "Who wants to know?" "I'm Carnage. I am the offspring of Venom, and I am going to kill you and create utter carnage upon you." As Dilemma says to Izuku, "Well, I'd say you should be able to deal with this, Izuku." As Izuku then says, "Yeah, no problem." As Izuku says to Dilemma, "Well, Dilemma, suit up." "Okay, Carnage, let's go." As he turns his hands into his claw form, as he seemingly disappears, as he ends up behind Carnage, as he grabs Carnage's head and squishes it in, then using his claws to dig in deep, and then rip up, taking out a part of Carnage, him absorbing it, then getting Carnage's ability to morph his body into weapons, as he then turns his hand into a blade, saying, "Well, I didn't have this ability before, but thanks to you, I have it now." As then he turns his hand into a pulse rifle, just because he's seen one before, as he shoots it at Carnage. This leaving it to where it reveals Cletus Cassidy. As then Izuku uses fire as he summons a fireball in his hand in his dilemma form, saying, I don't have the known weaknesses that you regular symbiotes have. Because I have the spirit of vengeance, I am immune to fire. And since I've been ejected with a whole bunch of mutants, I am basically invincible. As then he punches Cletus Cassie across the face, retreating back into his regular Izuku form. As he then walks off, putting Cletus in cuffs, so yelling out to the teachers, "You should probably deal with that." As he walks off, as when Izuku gets to the front of the school, he sees Professor Xavier, Wolverine, Magneto, and Mystique. As then Professor X asks, "So, I heard that you're a mutant, and that you want to attend UA. Why is that?" "Well, Professor X, it's because I don't like being a mutant, and I'd prefer not to be around other mutants because if I get one bit of another mutant's blood, I can get their abilities." As we go back to Izuki's view, let's go to Izuki's view. As I explained to them, saying that my mutant ability is that my blood can adapt to, well, any other type of blood. So since I've had Wolverine's blood, X-2023. I'm essentially her sister because I have your, and I'm technically also your son. I've got your DNA in me. I've got Deadpool's DNA in me. They've had to infuse me with a whole bunch of mutants' blood. Even been infused with your blood, Professor X. I've been infused with most mutants' blood. I've been given pyrokinesis from one of them, most likely from Johnny Storm or something. I have ice manipulation, metal manipulation, which is most likely from you, Magneto, as well as I can change my shape, most likely from either Ant-Man or the Wasp, most likely using some kind of pin particles, turning them into, putting them in my blood or something. I also have blood manipulation. It's really no, I don't know what else to list. I have matter manipulation. I have an adamantium skull, for crying out loud. I have three things inside of me. I have two symbiotes and the spirit of vengeance. As I then say, "Hey, Dilemma, Viperion, come out." As on my left shoulder, Viperion, and on my right, Dilemma. And over my head, I say, "Hey, Vengeance, show your flaming skull for a face." As then I say, "This is Dilemma, this is Viperion, and that flaming skull up there, with the somewhat anger issues, is the spirit of vengeance." I don't know how I got all these three. From what they've told me, how I got the two symbiotes, they came to me while I was being experimented on. Yeah, I've been experimented on a lot, actually. And then they decided to put me in a mutant freak, well, for a mutant training center, as most people would call it. They tried to make mutants, well, submissive so they could use us as weapons. They decided to inject me with a whole bunch of poisons so then I couldn't talk to my symbiotes or the spirit of or vengeance, because they were trying to fight the poison inside of me, which it made it sound like they were screaming, which drove me partially insane. And then they listed a whole bunch of things that I could do, and then I decided that instead of going to a mutant school, I wanted to go to UA, where there'd be quirked people, so I wouldn't be able to be used ever again. Because I can't take quirked people's blood and add their powers onto mine, unless I use my electrical powers to go into their cerebral cortex and mimic their quirk gene, their quirk ability, and adding it onto my own, which I prefer not to do since it adds a lot of mental pain. It gives me a huge ass migraine. Oh, and it's annoying. For some reason, don't know why they decided to use me. Most likely, I actually do know why. It's because of my blood. Which is why I hate most mutants, and I prefer not to be around them. And that's why I'm not going to go to your pathetic school for youngsters. There is only one way that I'd go there, if I had a mutant dampening collar. Because I'd still be able to talk to my pals, but I wouldn't be able to use any of my powers. So, what do you want to say, Kartsky? And that's the end of this what if. Well, this part of the what if. So, if you want, comment, like, and subscribe. And see you in the next part. Hopefully you enjoyed. So, have a good night, day, evening, whatever time it is. Have a good time. Goodbye.